Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to another delayed episode of Intellectual Thought Processes. This is my studio. I like to do things outside, so it's getting a little dark here. I'm gonna try to rush through this, but this is a bit of a long one. What I've been putting off because I was gonna do it for a number of different reasons. I'm working on a number of different projects and have several jobs, is why I haven't really been staying on top of these videos, but I wanted to go ahead and try to get this one knocked out of the way. You'll probably notice that the sun will get darker and darker as I do this, but I'm going to go ahead and stay true and get this one out there. All right, so in this episode, I'm going to go over something I call sacred value in regards to having self discipline and muscle memory. In short, this episode is supposed to be for motivation and inspiration. It's to help people stay on track and think with a clear mind. It outlines that it doesn't matter how big something that you work towards ever actually gets. What matters is that if you think with a positive mindset, then positive things will happen. If you think with a negative mindset, then negative things will happen. Now, first, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite theories, and this one's called the multiverse theory, or that's what I call it anyway. And the multiverse theory is one where essentially every decision that you make, you shift yourself into an alternate universe. And when you think about this on a scientific scale, this happens every infinite of a second. Every choice, every action that you make with, once you get smaller and smaller and think of all the, energy swirling around your brain, this happens every infinite of a second. You switch and shift into another completely different dimension. Now think of that in terms of how we can affect our environment. We can do this to an infinite amount of ways, to an infinite scale or size, degree, or material. And then we think about how our environment can affect us. For example, let's say you're on track to win the lottery or be someone famous, and the next thing you know, a mosquito lands on you and bites you. Do you let this control you or do you stay focused? We also can think about, someone, maybe you're having an event and it's at your house and there's a bunch of mosquitoes. Maybe they're not bothering you personally, but they could be affecting someone else who's complaining about it. And that's in turn bringing everyone down. If it's too big of a deal, if they're throwing too much of a temper tantrum of it and getting everyone else on board that, hey, maybe today's not a good day for it because there's too many mosquitoes, that potentially could, lead someone to not show up. And, there's that loss in connection from that example. So taking that into mind, what the coolest thing about that theory and why it's my favorite is it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's about applying yourself. You can't be an artist without putting pencil to paper. Once you begin to understand a theory like this as how it doesn't matter if it's true or not, you begin to understand or can begin to look at some of the other theories in the same fashion. Another theory, or this time a religious practice, is one of the burning of white sage. This is a Native American ritual called smudging. It's said to cleanse the air, it's a healing, and removes bad spirits. It's used to, say, for example, cleanse an eerie house or room with a sick patient in it. It has a healing nature to it. However, it used to be illegal for indigenous people or the Native Americans to practice their religions up until 1978. In fact, many were jailed and killed. In fact, they are still fighting to be able to burn the white sage in hospitals to this day. Now, burning the white sage outside of their ritual or by outsiders is seen to them as disrespectful because it minimizes the cultural importance of their ritual. It's now today become a trend and is actually being over harvested due to high demand. They are also harvesting the plant incorrectly. They aren't harvesting the root, which is what's needed for it to grow back. Harvesting the root too is a part of the ritual. In fact, the entire life cycle of the sage is all a part of the ritual. What's more notable is that the white sage is also meant to be a gift. They say that selling or buying the white sage is said to contaminate the root and instead welcome evil spirits instead of cleansing the room of them. And we take this and we go back to the multiverse theory. We begin to see this as, well, it doesn't really matter if it's true or not. The question is, are you a respectful, disciplined person? Are you willing to work towards a goal, or do you just want to pretend? If you go through life taking in only the good parts of lessons and ignoring the bad ones, or the ones that require you to have self discipline or work towards something, if this is the kind of person that you are, then ultimately the world around you will crumble, or rather, you will begin to welcome the evil spirits instead of the good ones. For example, if you think about someone who ignores these teachings and they go out and they buy bulk loads of the sage and they give it away, ask yourself, what are they doing? They are attempting to manipulate others, even if subconsciously. They know enough to give it away as a gift, but yet they've succumbed to the greed. They're using it to be seen as someone who's kind or wise. But the reality is that kind of person is a false prophet. And now think of the consequences that one would have by putting their faith in the person who does this. They're ignoring the actual teachings and trying to be seen as someone more than what they actually are. They don't want to actually work towards being what they want to be seen as. Now, on a more psychological scale of things, if you burn the white sage daily, the smell will become strong in your memory and remind you of many things, when the white sage is not supposed to remind you of anything. And when it does, it should be a graceful memory of overcoming a troubling time when a loved one was sick. Now, maybe they didn't make it, and you have to overcome the loss of that person. It's important to note that the white sage isn't meant to be seen as a miracle herb, but a blessing and a statement that you have done all that you can do for that person. The white sage is a pleasant and powerful smell that can give one hope, especially if the smell is the first time. Fear actually scientifically further induces illness. If you smell the white sage regularly, then it will remind you of many things, times and memories, and the intended emotional and psychological benefits of smelling the white sage will have diminished. If you go through life thinking only about yourself, then it will be a part of your natural reaction to things. If you hear these kinds of teachings and roll your eyes at them, then you're not too far off from rolling your eyes at everything that you learn. There is such a thing as muscle memory, and we must take the time to understand that our brain is a muscle. Understanding this is important because it plays an important role in overcoming barriers. So, your first event or project was unsuccessful. If you let yourself get bummed out about it, then it will become a part of your nature and you'll begin to give up before you even try. You should instead do things differently, think differently, have an open mind, be selfless, have discipline, honor, respect. Move through the barriers, take them as lessons, and find ways to overcome them. Now, when we take these teachings and understand that the physical and psychological cause and effects of our own actions are perfectly in tune with the teachings, regardless of whether or not they're real or not, we can then begin to understand the value of respecting them while showing ourselves discipline. If it has great spiritual importance, or is said to have great spiritual importance or significance, you should try to make it as perfect as possible. To actually be perfect, it in yourself should be as in tune with these kinds of teachings as possible, but also in regards to things like astrology, symbology, spirituality, and etc. If your religion is your thing, then that might take part as well in following these kinds of teachings and reaching actual perfection. Now, this is only part of what sacred geometry is. We see it in ancient architecture, modern corporate logos, etc. It's the embodiment of knowledge. Now, you can build a house with your porch facing north towards the trees, or you can build it west with your porch facing west towards the valley and the sunset. Now, just imagine the substantial difference that one of these choices or the other would have on your life, being able to see the sunrise or sunset every morning rather than waking up every morning and just looking at the trees. In short, you are who you are, and who you are is what ultimately shapes the world around you. I could have made this video in a different day, but like I said, I'm strapped for time, and you know, it's getting dark. It is what it is. This is my studio. It's outside because the house is just a bunch of problems, too much to film stuff like this indoors. But I could give up and say, or delay it, postpone it, do all these things, or I can just, hey, it is what it is. This is the video. This is what I got. I'm just gonna press forward, put this out there. Hopefully, do more videos. I'm not sure what my other topics are on. I know I have a couple of them, but like I said, I'm working on a number of different things. For the very few of you that watch these videos, thanks. I hope you find it inspirational, and I will put more content out. But like I said, I'm uncertain when. Peace.